big blob together. Actors are just as diverse as people. There are generous actors and selfish actors, kind actors and nasty actors. Ones you really want to work with, and ones you just run away from. You think, please God, don't make me work with this person. They're just like people. They are people. And Andrea, I learned right away that the bookings were a very kind of safe zone. I felt very comfortable to go in there and explore and experiment because everybody was so generous. The thing I love about working with Loren and Diane and especially Mark Hamill was I know they want me to be good. They're not looking at me in a competitive way because they know the better I am, the better they'll be because I'll give them more. Mark, I watch him watch other actors. He has a very childlike quality about him. And he looks like a little kid enjoying the first movie he's ever seen when he watches an actor really hitting a home run. It's a wonderful thing to watch. And I sense him giving me that energy when I'm working with him. And that was your casting. There were no bad apples in any of those shows. Everyone was wonderful.
I've often likened casting to putting together a group of people for a party. Who's going to have fun together? Who's going to bring something to the party? You know, not just take, but give. And so, you know, who do I want to spend 4 hours in a room with? You know, a closed-in room with just a bunch of us together. And so, if I can put together a good party, I can put together a good cast. And so that's kind of the mentality I have.
With one famous exception. Not going to mention names. We've waited and we've waited and we've waited half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour. Andrea said, "Fine, come on, we're gonna record the show and we'll deal with her later." An hour and a half in, we're halfway through the show. She comes breezing in and says, breezing in, and says, "Oh, sorry, I just couldn't get out of the house today."
I know. I thought you're an actor.
Andrea came over to me really quietly and whispered in my ear, "Couldn't she lie?" We never saw her again.
No.
Another episode everybody loved, and it's actually a board game now. I haven't played it. It's called Almost Got 'Em, where everyone tells their favorite Batman story. Kevin, you were actually impersonating Killer Croc, and then of course the ruse ends. I'm curious, Batman trained in Japan as a samurai, and then he also learned some magic from Zatanna's father. Kevin, are you any good in a fight, and do you know any tricks?
You know, I am good in a fight, but it's just because I'm so violent. I don't have any skills, but I will tear your head off. I'm really not artful. I'm not artful as a fighter, but man, do I have passion. You know? That's the extent of my fighting ability.
Sheer energy.
When was the last time you got into a fight? Come on.
Well, Sister Josephine Marie.
She had it coming.
Yeah, last week I was in a bar fight. Maybe let me tell you with a nun.
So I'm curious, Diane, with talk of legalization of marijuana across the country, how do you think Poison Ivy would feel about that?
What a wonderful and absolutely upsetting question.
Because you're...
I mean, I'm trying to think. I personally think it's just fine, but poison ivy? Let me see, plants being used to get people high. I think she would like the hemp part because you can make baskets and purses out of hemp. You know something? I have no idea. If I was given a script where she had a particular reaction, I would play that and I hope play it brilliantly.
Absolutely.
But no, I really have no opinion. Anybody else?
So I'm curious, if part of your contract was that you had to wear some sort of utility belt, like day in, day out in your real life, what would you keep on that for Kevin and Loren? What would be on your daily utility belt?
Wow, he's really stayed up nights to make these questions
for
happen.
you.
You know this?
What would you put on there?
Lozenges.
Car keys, wallet, money clip.
I like to do carpentry, so I guess a really good skill saw. I'd come at you with my skill saw.
And then, I know a lot of people would like to see you guys reprise these roles. You guys did the Nerdist podcast, right? That was for Justice League. Is there any chance that maybe we could see something from Warner Brothers next?
What, a Justice League revival?
Or everybody with Batman in the DC
Oh,
universe?
we would love it. We would love it.
As they say, from your mouth to God's ears.
They didn't stop making the shows because there wasn't a desire for the shows. The audience never lost demand for the shows. It was just the writers moved on. They wanted to do different things. The actors all wanted to do it. The audience certainly wanted it. They just wanted, the writers wanted to move on to new projects.
And I think that if it were to be done again, there would be an entirely new set of writers because people who were fans of the show as children are now old enough to be writers. And so that's probably where the writing staff will come from, is from people who were kids when the show first started, because it was 27.
Yes.
And you know, we did a semi-reunion with this movie Batman and Harley Quinn, and I have things set up where I get Google alerts if anybody mentions anything in a blog or whatever it is. And there was, I mean, literally hundreds of people, and this is just the ones that I saw, of people saying, "I'm so happy to hear you and Kevin together again," over and over and over again. And I was like, gosh, I wonder if anybody at Warner Brothers is reading that, because, you know, and Diane has the same voice, we have the same voices, obviously, and so we would love to do this show again.
Yeah, I get lots of angry stuff on Facebook. Why aren't you still doing the voice? And I said, well, they moved on, because that's what you learn to say as an actor. But the bottom line is, I don't know. I mean, you know, I think, okay, they went with more names, because that's kind of the trend. You know, somebody's famous or something else. So let's get this little known actress, me, who simply made a living, but was never a star. Let's get her out of the way and get somebody else. That's one possibility. The bottom line is I can do the character in my sleep right now. We don't really, I mean, until we become an old lady, we don't really change.
Well, June Foray worked until she was 90 years old.
Exactly.
The voice of Rocket J. Squirrel and Tasha.
We were just talking about in the hall, talking about with you, how many people from the show are still around and still working and still could do it. You know, there's so many of us who would love to.
It would take fan notice to Warner Brothers saying...
You have your assignment.
Yes. You guys are in charge of telling Warner Brothers, okay?
I will mention a piece of trivia that I'm in the middle of writing my autobiography, and so I was looking at some of my old notes and I'd written down about things, and there's a really interesting fact about Batman the Animated Series. The very first episode is On Leather Wings. It's the very first episode that ever aired. And the very first line of that episode is a helicopter pilot, voiced by Kevin Conroy. And so the very first line of any Batman episode is voiced by Kevin, but not as Batman, which is kind of cool. A little trivia for you.
All right, so it's time for my exercise. Let's get some fan questions. All right, right here. What's your name, sir?
Hi, my name's Adam. I'm doing Red Hood. So, my question is for Kevin Conroy. So, there were two animated movies I saw back in the day where your voice was a part of Batman. If you could choose the two to play Batman in those two movies, which one would it be? Batman during the Justice League Crisis of Two Earths, or Batman in Batman Under the Red Hood?
We tend to not watch stuff that's not ours. So he never watched those movies. I'd say Red Hood. I'd say Red Hood for him. That's a great film, isn't it? Do you guys know it? Under the Red Hood? Great.
I love the jacket. This is great.
Hi, my name's Graham, and I was going on to what Diane was talking about like the humanization of the villains. Like, what are your for everyone? because Batman's Rogues Gallery has so many humanized villains, except for maybe like Bane and Joker, like what your favorites are, you know, like Mr. Freeze and all that, where their backstories are more in depth, I guess.
I'm not sure what the ultimate question for that was. Who are our favorite villains?
Who do you sympathize with the most, perhaps? I would say Clayface, even though you didn't ask me.
I could say the one thing I loved about the Arkham games, when they first sent the first script to me, Arkham Asylum, I thought, wow, Batman never kills. He doesn't kill. He arrests, and he puts them in Arkham. So, after all these years, there's this hospital in Gotham that has the most insane villains on the planet, all sitting in there just waiting for a video game. I thought, what a great idea to have Batman get trapped in there and have to fight his way out. And you encounter every villain from the whole universe. That was, I think, is such a great idea about that game. But I've always been partial to Joker just because Mark Hamill and I had such a unique relationship. We had a yin to yang for each other. You know, I don't think Batman would be Batman without Joker. Joker would be Joker without Batman. It sort of defined each other.
Mr. Freeze is a great villain too. Mr. Freeze had such a heartbreaking story about his wife, and I was very sympathetic.
I liked the episodes where I kind of went one-on-one with the villains, and so I'm very partial to John Glover's Riddler.
Yes.
I mean, he was phenomenal, and I had a lot to do with that. I had a lot to do in those episodes. I mean, and also with oh God, I'm blanking on his name, the Scarecrow, wonderful actor. No,
Like the Scarecrow. Lots of electronic devices.
Jonathan?
no.
Who? Jeffrey Combs?
No.
He eventually did in another incarnation.
Anyway, so those are my Scarecrow and Joker.
And now I will
Riddler.
confess to you, I'm the only one up here that played a villain, right? And that means the only shows I'm really familiar with are the ones I was on.
See, we don't watch them if they're not us.
I mean, I've seen a few of the others, and maybe now it's time to go watch the whole series. But the bottom line is, actors, you know the whole classic things, push it, my line. You know?
That's an actor reviewing a script. Bullshit, my line, bullshit, my line.
And because of that, I really only know myself, so I'm my favorite villain. Thank you.
Great question. That was incredible. That's very honest.
Hey Kevin, this question's for you, and I wanted to ask you that we all know like all the Arkham series, and like at the ending of Arkham Knight, we saw this like darker version of Batman, and I wanted to know, do you think you still do another Batman game?
I'm not going to answer that. I can't answer that. That's left unanswered. Does he become the Joker? Does he go to the darkness? Does he go there? I think the fact that it's his laugh left hanging certainly implies that. I was so proud of the way Mark and I played that ending of that game. It was just, I was so proud of him. I loved it.
All right, Robin, right here in the front.
You guys say you got to work with all the voice actors inside the movie. How was it working with the late and great Adam West?
It was awesome.
Awesome.
Great episode.
Grey
Ghost. What a wonderful episode
Yeah.
that is. And I reached out to him because I knew him, I forget how I knew him earlier, and described what the story was, that it was kind of a has-been actor, character was, and I didn't want him to feel like we were making fun of him in any way, and he was like, this script is fabulous, count me in, I'm on board. And then I had the good fortune to work with him on many things. He did a SpongeBob for us, and a lot of things played on it. But that's a wonderful episode, isn't it, The Grey Ghost?
And he was just a real gentleman. He was a really kind, gentle person, and wonderful to work with. I was a little trepidatious the day I met him. I thought, you know, you're kind of stepping on someone else's cake, you know. He made his identity on this, and he sensed that in me. goes, no, just have a blast. He said, I had a blast doing it. You will too. Run with it. It's yours now. For a little while.
I guess that's a second question, Madam West, since we lost him last year, like this week we lost Marlon Kid, was my question. How come there's no love for Superman the animated series? I love Batman, but I can't be the only one in there that likes Superman. It's a great series. I just feel like it doesn't get the love that Batman gets. It's very underrated.
Why doesn't Superman get the love Batman gets? And I think you're right. I think he doesn't because he's so... No, Batman is, he's so dark. He's so complicated. Huh? But Superman is like, square-jawed, apple pie, he's a good
He'll
guy.
always do the right thing. Superman will always do the right thing. Batman, because he's human, Bruce Wayne, human, he has flaws.
He might not.
He might kill somebody. He might. Superman's not going to, but Batman might.
It just came to me, Henry Pollock.
Henry!
I didn't want to go without, he was a wonderful actor, he's not with us anymore, I wanted his name to get out.
Sorry. This is for Ms. Romano. You've had an incredible career, not just with Batman animated series, almost 40 years with Hanna-Barbera. Which is the best notable project that you've experienced overall?
The single best project. You want me to answer on a Batman panel?
Yeah.
No pressure.
Okay, besides that.
Pinky in the Brain. What? Like, who's your favorite child? Yeah. There's so many. Okay, I'll tell you my favorites. DuckTales. Animaniacs. Pinky in the Brain. Batman. Justice League. Avatar: The Last Airbender. SpongeBob SquarePants. I did 5.5 years of directing SpongeBob. Fabulous show that was. What else? What am I forgetting? Teen Titans. Love Teen Titans. The thing was, I never really, after Hanna-Barbera where I was on staff, once I was freelance, I could pick and choose my projects. So things were brought to me, and I could say, yes, I want to, or no, I don't want to. And so I don't know why, I had very good luck that I picked a lot of good ones to be a part of. And so they're all my children, I love them all, truly, I love them all. But Batman was great.
All right, we're moving deeper in the back here.
Hi guys, my name is Rocky. It's an honor, by the way. This question is for the whole panel. As far as advice, what would be the best advice that you would give an aspiring voice actor?
Take acting classes.
Acting.
Acting. It's all about acting. That's
People
first.
think that voice acting is about making funny voices. It's acting. It's creating, like I was saying earlier, it's the whole character. But you only have your voice to tell the story. And not everyone can do that. I saw people come in who were film actors, because it's gotten popular, they call it stunt casting. They bring in movie stars or television stars to do roles on voice shows because the name will help sell the show, whether they're right for the role or not. So a lot of really wonderful voice actors don't get those jobs anymore.
No, we don't.
No, I know. Because there are film stars who want to,
It's not even just that. It's a business decision, and I don't agree with it. But sometimes my directive was given to me that they had to have X number of Twitter followers or more
right.
for me to cast them, which is just hideous. I fought against that always. Did you want to address
But
acting question?
Acting.
Acting. Regular, straight, old acting
But
classes.
bringing in people like that, I saw some of them able to make the transition, but boy, some of them really couldn't.
Stage actors, I think.
Yeah.
Stage actors make the transition.
Stage actors were much better. Film people who only did film, you never heard the performance because they always were relying on the camera to do a lot of the work for them. They were used to that. And they weren't giving anything. And you thought, Andrea would say, they'd say, get out! And she'd say, no, that was great, but to do it, give us more. Just give us more. Just really, there's someone coming running into the house and you're telling your family to get out or they're all going to get killed. Okay. Get out! Perfect. That was perfect. Okay, now, there's an army coming in the front door, and they're gonna wipe out your family, but you've gotta get them out of the house. Okay, I got it. Get out! That was fabulous. Okay, we're gonna try it one more way. The Nazis and the communists are gonna rush in the front door. They're gonna burn your family down. You've gotta get them out. What are you gonna say? Okay, I got it. Get out. That was wonderful, thank you. That was perfect. Can we get another actor in here?
Never do that in front of the actor.
Never in front of the actor. But I saw that happen a number of times when it was a film person. You thought, this person's just, they think they're changing and they're not. They're just not getting it.
So to answer your question, acting classes.
Acting classes.
And then voice acting classes, specifically voice acting classes. And take classes with groups because you learn a lot from the other students, what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. And you do what I call stealing with love, which is somebody comes up with a voice, you do not do an exact impression of that voice, but you find some element in that.
Get great ideas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Greg here in the very back row.
Hi guys, I just want to thank you. I remember growing up, being 8, watching Batman after school. As a teenager, watching Justice League.
Amazing, I was 8 when I recorded it.
And now I come home from school and I see my daughter playing in Justice. I'm like, oh, evolution. But she's trying to power up Batman right now. I guess just thank you guys for everything. She loves Ivy as well. I guess my question is, if there's an Injustice 3, can we count on you?
Oh gosh, yeah, of course. When they don't use us for a project, people say, why didn't you do that project?
All the time.
Well, it's because they didn't ask me. You know, we're always game to do these things, but different director comes on and they want to put their own stamp on it, and they get a different actor.
I've got time for two more questions right here, young man.
How do you think, like, over the years, what you added on to your characters has affected the way they were portrayed after that?
Well, your character evolved a lot over the years.
Do you mean after?
Youthful, very youthful.
See, I can still do it. And you were 8. Do you mean after the show and then iterations of things that happened after that, or within the show? I mean after the show. Well, listen, I can't speak for myself, but I know that Kevin is the iconic Batman, and I think he's the touchstone for every time that they do a Batman project. And I remember reading for a couple of projects where they wanted a Batman, and I said, what are you thinking? What are you doing that you wanted? Well, we want to do something different. But then very often they would come back to you and they would give. So I don't actually think there's been too many portrayals of Robin and Nightwing over the years, but there has been a lot of portrayals of Batman, and I think that Kevin absolutely has influenced every single one of them.
Yes.
I remember reading reviews of the live-action Batman movies where they said, why don't they pay attention to Batman the Animated Series? Why don't they pay attention to what Kevin Conroy is doing as Batman? And that's a wonderful compliment.
All right, and we're going to end with this young man here, Jack. I met him on the way in, so this should be a very good question, right, Jack?
Okay, so we were talking about the video game Arkham games. How does your process for playing Batman change?
Oh, what a good question. It's night and day. You go into these bookings for an animated show, and as we were talking about, they get everyone in there together, and you're basically doing a play for 2 hours. It's all this interaction, this reaction, this camaraderie, it's a group of people together. When you do a game, because of the way a game is constructed, they have to have each voice completely separate. And you do line after line after line after line. Great, could you do that with a little irony? After line after line. Wonderful, keep the irony now with a sense of humor. Line after line. I mean, for 4 hours alone in a booth. Then you get an hour for lunch, and then you go back and you do 4 hours more. And by the end of the day, you're kind of talking like this. You can barely speak, and you're trying to keep the character alive. You're trying to stay in Batman, and you're doing Arkham Knight had 157,000 lines of dialogue. It was like doing War and Peace. It took 2 years to build. The reason they did Arkham Origins with different actors in the middle of the Arkham trilogy was because we were all working on Arkham Knight. They didn't even tell us about Arkham Origins. I didn't even know it was being worked on until it came out. I had been doing Arkham Knight for 2 years. So you don't get that juice you get from other actors when you do games. It's not why you go to Juilliard. It's not why you become an actor. You leave at the end of the day and you're sweating and you're wrung out and your voice is gone and you think, I hope this is going to be good when it's done because I don't know what the hell I was doing, you know. Because it's all out of context. It's line, it's all disjointed out of context and it's all going to be pieced together in a computer. It's apples and oranges. It's such a different experience. They can't train you at acting school for that. I mean, it's just something you learn on the job. It's a different thing.
Guys, there's been a few panels before us. There's more after. I want to hear the loudest applause for the whole weekend right now.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Diane. Happy birthday.